Good evening, guys. Starting somewhat earlier. We'd set this for 6, but I just wanted to go live so that we could just move on. This is a response essentially to Donald Trump's recently finished, I believe it's finished. I kind of turned off with his last answer to the press. Recently finished press conference at Mar-a-Lago regarding the assault, the attack on Caracas in Venezuela, the capture, the arrest, the subsequent kidnapping of Maduro and his wife, the president of Venezuela. Okay, and I need to kind of use the caveat from the get-go that as and when we talk about this, no one is talking about Maduro nor the regime in Venezuela as if it is some kind of God-given gift of a regime. It's corrupt. It's authoritarian. It's undemocratic. But the point here is this: regardless of the nature, of a country's regime, or the way in which a country has kind of found itself with this leader or that leader or whatever, there are limitations. There are necessary international limitations and restrictions, theoretically, on the way in which countries should operate around the world. We've seen those rules absolutely kiboshed and destroyed by Israel over the last 2 years. It's been ongoing by Israel for the last 70 years, 75 years, 80 years. But actually, we've seen it come to an absolute sharp end focus over the last 2 years. We've all talked about how Russia and the way in which Putin went in on Ukraine broke international rules-based laws, etc., etc. And it's interesting that we can apply and we can invoke the rules of international, the international rules and laws of conflict between countries when it applies to Putin. We don't apply them when it comes to Israel, and we are being asked not to apply them in this instance with Donald Trump and America's attack on Venezuela. Now, I've just, as I said, I've just been watching the press conference that he gave. It was a live press conference, and one's trying to kind of preemptively and then sort of, trot back and screen record and grab those bits that I think would be most, most sort of relevant, most eye-opening, most eye-watering, most toe-curling, potentially, in terms of what he's saying, in order to try and understand the rationale and comprehend what it is that America are up to in doing this. And of course, in doing that, they're a bit rough and ready at the edges, these clips. They are screen recorded. So there may be the tail end of a previous statement and the incoming words of a new statement. I'll try and kind of give you better context when and as we go. But they felt to me moments that were, significant. I bet, Mitchub, you're absolutely right. Greenland and Denmark on alert now. So this is the news. So for anyone who's kind of unaware, this is the news that Maduro, the president of Venezuela, has essentially been. I mean, the way in which America or Trump and his regime are trying to kind of suggest this, it's law enforcement went in and arrested him. But let's not beat around the bush. They've gone into another country. They've invaded it. They've attacked it. They've kidnapped and taken hostage, for now, the leader of that country, regardless of his criminality, regardless of what he's done wrong, regardless of how popular or not he is in his country. America has ridden in on a steed and taken the president. I just find it kind of unedifying and strange that this is one of the more recent things that Donald Trump posted. Before we go into the clips from the press conference, there is a moment with Pete Hegseth, and there is also a moment from Marco Rubio doing his best impersonation of Joe Pesci from Scorsese's Goodfellas. He's quite a remarkable. He's becoming quite a sort of gangster-style terrier, isn't he, Rubio? But this was posted on Donald Trump's Truth Social. Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima. This is an image of the president of Venezuela with sensory deprivation or sensory depriving glasses, earphones. I think his hands are kind of cable tied together. He's in a similar outfit to one that Nadia bought me for Christmas, which makes me look like I'm sort of walking in the yard in prison. And he's holding a water bottle, not entirely dissimilar to the images that the Israeli IDF forces would show us of the Samud flotilla when they boarded them and kind of arrested them. So that's significant in terms of that's the most recent thing. Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima, Donald J. Trump posting this. In other headlines, Donald Trump has said that the US is going to run Venezuela after overnight strikes. How does that make anyone feel? Because Emma Staple, I noticed you mentioned this on Instagram to me, and I felt your kind of loneliness almost in this. Most people are going to be thinking, who gives a flying fuck about this? This is Venezuela. It doesn't matter. It's a bunch of fucking cocaine junkie, drug pushing lunatics. Does it matter? It's probably a good thing. People don't want to get involved in the detail. And the thing that worries me about all of this is by choosing someone like Venezuela, with America choosing Venezuela, you could argue in so many different ways a financial basket case of a country, Venezuela, lacking in any kind of structure or kind of political kind of savvy, vulnerable criminality. It does run rife there too. But the regime in Venezuela is Venezuela's regime. Just like the regime in America isn't particularly to everyone else's liking. And no one would expect, would they, anyone to ride in on a horse into America and try and change things there. But the weird thing about this is that this feels so remarkably odd that Donald Trump is just saying quite boldly, we're going to run Venezuela. And I just want to bring in Reese's comments here, which is quite very true. The thing is, it's been done before in recent history with Obama and Libya. Look at the mess that has been left in Libya. But that was done in coalition with Western countries. However, this is a clear breach of international law. Well, as ever, just like Israel used the term self-defense to justify a genocide, self-defense is often the phrase used to justify and legitimize most acts of extreme violence, aggression, and war. Most aggressive moves militarily can be justified if you simply say, oh, we are acting in self-defense. And this is very much going to be the defense that America, Hegseth, the states are going to be using. It was self-defense. In case you missed what our actually, I've run out of spaces for clips. So what I'm going to do now is just move through these headlines so I can clear up some space. Donald Trump says US is going to run Venezuela after overnight strikes. So I'm just going to play you some clips from the press conference. And here we go.
Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault, and it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II.
Wow, Donald.
It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently.
He's very labored. He's very tired. He's been up all night watching strong men do strong looking things. And that takes it out of an old man, especially an old man who's so enamored with young, virile masculinity. He can't get enough of it. So he's obviously been up all night watching, this enterprise, and he's exhausted. If you're wondering why he just seems exhausted, he is just utterly exhausted. It's all the testosterone flooding around him. It's just been an absolute nightmare for the poor old duffer.
In an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time.
So I just want to pull up Michu's comment. My hunch is Venezuelans might not mind this so much. No, of course, there are going to be lots and lots of people, like there would be in Iran if the regime is moved or changed. There'll be so many people, you're absolutely right, Michu, in Venezuela, who won't mind this so much, especially if it means US oil investment flows into Venezuela. That'll be the test, whether America invests or robs the country. But you surely can't be getting on board with Michu, the way in which he's gone about it. I mean, whether there's precedent, whether it's been done before, whether this could be ultimately the best thing for Venezuela or not, this sends a signal, does it not? Isn't this the Putinification of US foreign policy? Isn't this the kind of sanctioning of, if we're critical of Putin for needing to make a land grab into those countries that are just, right alongside Russia's border to make sure they can control things, isn't this legitimizing exactly the same thing? And just because there may be a legitimate benefit for Venezuela, if a country does this, does it not send a signal to every other country in the world that basically all bets are off? I mean, all bets were already off before this happened, but surely this sends a signal to everyone, which is, well, whatever you fancy, just go for it. Just go for it. For if you fancy a little bit more, if you fancy a nibble of that country with those reserves and with those kind of minerals and rare earth minerals and all that, oh yeah, just do it. Just go for it. I mean, I know what you're saying, Michu. It's not about method is dodgy. I think that's a very civilized way of saying it. I think method and legality is important. I think the fact that the regime in Venezuela was deeply disturbing or deeply corrupt, or the regime in America is deeply corrupt. I'll keep flipping it back. The regime in Israel is deeply corrupt. But by sanctioning this, by normalizing the sudden, uncoordinated, unilateral decisions taken by yourself as a solitary country to topple leaders in other countries. Yes, we all know it. That's why we can't fucking abide Tony Blair. It's why we can't abide what they did, around Iraq. It's not that Saddam Hussein was some nice chap or Gaddafi was a nice geezer. That's not what anyone's saying. But if you go about it this way, and what I think history has proven and history has shown, going back to your very important distinction, it depends whether this brings money into the pockets of Venezuelans or whether America will simply rob Venezuela and drain them of all their cash. History doesn't look kindly on precedent, does it? I don't feel that particularly the countries involved in most regime changes have necessarily, if they've managed to kind of rebuild their society, are they necessarily holding the financial rewards? And if they are holding the financial rewards, say in Iraq and places like that, who's holding the financial reward? Is it, again, those in a very senior position within Iraq, governmental officials, the private companies, ordinary people who may for a moment go, hey, Maduro's gone? Are ordinary people going to feel anything different? I think highly unlikely. And that's why I think there has to be huge pushback against this. We can't just go, well, maybe, it's an unpalatable way of doing it, but actually it's possibly quite necessary. I disagree. I think we're on the slippery road already. We can't just say, well, let's slip a little bit further, because otherwise we're going to be in fucking hell. Having played that clip, I can now have room to play in the GIMP that is our leader. This was Starmer's answer or comment earlier. I've posted something on Instagram in response to this, but this is what our dear, great, brilliant, GIMP-dressed leader had to say on it.
Spoken to Donald Trump about what's happened in Venezuela?
No, I haven't, and it's obviously a fast-moving situation, and we need to establish all the facts.
Just on that, the reason he hasn't spoken to Donald Trump is because Donald Trump doesn't want to speak to you. You are not considered important. We are not considered important. We have had this massive tech fucking $3 billion deal just cut and ignored. He's spun you a yarn. He has no respect for you, as none of us do either, Starmer. So the reason you haven't had a call from him is you are irrelevant. You are irrelevant, and you are of absolutely no significance whatsoever. And in terms of wanting to get to know the facts are all out there now, Keir. So give us your next statement.
What I can say is that the UK was not involved in any way in this operation.
Okay, I really want your idea. Me too, but I would love your input on this. Why did he say this twice in this interview? What I do want to say is we were not involved in this operation. Am I smelling a rat? Is this the lady doth protest a little bit too much? It's like no one. I hadn't even thought that we could be in some way involved in this assault or this attack or this annexing. And it's essentially, but given the fact that America are going to run it, it's an annexation of Venezuela. This is an annexation, isn't it? Michu, would you say this sits in your definition of an annexation? I think it's an annexation. So when he says we have nothing, but he says it twice, it's like, well, no one was suggesting you would, Starmer. But now maybe you've mentioned it. Could you? Because let's face it, you kept saying you had no involvement with the spy planes over Israel, but you did. So you're a fucking liar. He's a great big Pinocchio-styled, long-nosed liar.
And as you'd expect, we're focusing on British nationals in Venezuela and working very closely with our embassy. And so I will want to talk to the president, I will want to talk to allies, but at the moment, I think we need to establish the facts. I think President Trump is doing a press conference later, so hopefully more information will come out then.
What is clear, though, which the White House has said, is that America carried out strikes on Venezuela and captured their leader, Maduro. Some politicians in this country have already condemned that. Do you?
Well, I want to establish the facts first. I want to speak to President Trump. I want to speak to allies. As I say, I can be absolutely clear that we were not involved in that. And as you know, I always say and believe we should all uphold international law. But I think at this stage, fast-moving situation, let's establish the fact.
I mean, a fast-moving situation doesn't need to be moving too fast to completely bedazzle Keir Starmer and befuddle him. I mean, you know, those eyes, I mean, for saying he's a fan of football, he couldn't follow the ball too quickly. So, and hang on a minute, did he just say, as you know, I'm an observer and a supporter, as I mentioned in my reel earlier today, of international law? No, you're not. You're not an observer and a respecter and an advocate for international law. Only international law when it suits you. So, as someone just said in the chat, he's waiting to hear what the collective response from other countries is so he can parrot in alongside it. Bailey makes a really important point. Russia and China are now empowered to do whatever the hell they want, as are Israel. Once again, you watch, wait, Iran is next. Iran is next. Trump will make Putin's antics look like a walk in the park on a sunny day. And that's it. I mean, we have, in this move, in this maneuver, Trump has removed any potential moral footing or standing for anyone to be critical now of what Russia has done in Ukraine. You can't say that's wrong and then this is right. And if, as you rightly said earlier today, Michu, if, say, China were to tackle or surround and sort of, hive off or besiege Taiwan, what the fuck can we say? What? I mean, they'll use a line of self-defense. As long as everyone says it's self-defense, like Israel, it's self-defense against harmless children, self-defense against unweaponed journalists in the Gaza Strip, self-defense against innocent women, self-defense against innocent men. You just keep saying self-defense when actually what you're about is declaring war. It's such an obvious kind of flip round. I think people are past it. Are people past it? I mean, I really, Emma Staple, your comment earlier today really sticks with me because I think what you're feeling around this, and I think it's been hard enough getting people on board with and to care about Gaza, the Palestinians, and the West Bank. And one of the points that I think me and Nadia have tried to make all the way through it, beyond the specifics of Gaza and the West Bank, is that if you keep sort of giving a free pass to each of these things, going, well, it's not us, and really, it doesn't affect us. And each time you do that, with every next group of people or country or culture or population that you just say, well, that bit doesn't bother. Eventually, it's going to be at your door, and it's going to bother you. It's going to bother you. MeTube. This is bad because both far right and far left can use this as an excuse to ignore established rules and laws. Well, yes. I mean, Donald Trump has, I mean, he's torn the playbook up, hurled it in the air, and it's kind of where it falls is anyone's guess. And no one has a leg to stand on now. No one can say anything to anyone. We are, I would say, as of today, as of this happening, forget the ICC. That's been rendered completely useless. It's toothless, a toothless, useless paper tiger of an organization. The United Nations, next to fucking useless too. Can't do anything. It is there just to keep saying stuff and can't enact anything. America just plows on. Israel just plows on. Russia just plows on. And in a minute, China will probably just plow on. And it's just going to be a sort of race to the top or a race to the bottom as everyone goes fucking crazy, land grabbing like mad for rare earth minerals and resources. And we are back into, I hate to say it, I hate to say it, we are in a, Nadia and the girls were watching, oh God, what was it? What's the name of that film, the World War I film, All Quiet on the Western Front? You know, the preconditions of World War I were imperial ambitions by obviously the UK, Britain, Germany, obviously, but other kind of European nations and Russia. It was all about imperial ambition, albeit, you know, a sort of early 20th century form of imperial ambition. We are heading ineluctably towards the same thing, but with much larger superpowers. Forget all the countries of Europe where France mattered and Spain mattered. Euro is just euro. And I would argue that, I hate to say it, I wouldn't be at all surprised if China, Russia, and America between themselves have thrown Europe to the wolves already. We are redundant. Anyway, let's have another moment from his speech.
Were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military working with U.S. law enforcement successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night.
The dead of night.
Dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off.
He's such an infant that he can't get past the fact that it was dark. It was dark, guys. The lights were off and we did it in the dark. That's how good we are. We did it in the dark.
Due to a certain expertise that we have, it was dark. And it was
he can't get over this. It was dark. Wow. I don't think anyone told him that they had night vision goggles and things like that. He just was like watching it going, Jesus, these guys are doing it in the dark.
But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, it's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military.
Yeah, someone's just saying, I'm still in shock about the photograph, Hannah Needham, the blindfolded pic. Yeah, let's just have a look. This again, regardless of what he is, you know, who he is, what he's done. This is the leader of another country taken by America. And the president of America has uploaded and posted this image of him in a, you know, obviously in an act of humiliation, an attempt to humiliate him. We're just going to push through other moments in this speech. So what we've learned is that Donald Trump was impressed by how brilliant the soldiers were. He's so enamored with masculinity, but the masculinity that can do this stuff in the dark with the lights off, that's quite something.
War is operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement, caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out.
So what he's saying there was he'd lost the element of surprise, but he's going to turn that into something that's actually a badge of honor. So Maduro was waiting for him. He knew he was coming because they parked loads of ships in the sea.
Just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position.
And he knows what a ready position is. I don't think you need me to explain anymore.
Completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see.
But, you know, in his head, he's been watching television. He wasn't watching, you know, highly confidential footage being screened to the Situation Room from his military sources. He probably thought he was watching it on Fox and is expecting possibly Paramount to stream it.
A single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed.
So that's good. So no Americans were killed. Bailey makes a really good point. Newsflash, I like your sarcasm there. Trump is a mere puppet. I think we all know that. He's not running things. He's a useful idiot for darker entities. But thank you, Bailey, for reminding us this, because it needs to be said repeatedly. One nation under blackmail. And we all know who the source of those who are controlling world affairs. Everything goes back to, I hate to say it, the man who was nodding his head in time to the music at Mar-a-Lago over New Year's. It's too coincidental that Benjamin Netanyahu, the flaccid sack of urine that is the Prime Minister of Israel, was standing alongside this orange sack of doo-doo, watching the fireworks go off, and all this is happening. So yeah, I'm going to get to that moment. Emma Staple, he does talk about I think the thickness of the wall, the door to Maduro's safe room. But we're just treading through his highlights. He's very tired, Donald. He's very tired. And when the general spoke a little bit later, I did record it, but I didn't have time to zoom in. He did look like he was falling asleep on his feet. Trump did, but pushing on.
25 on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we...
Did you get that?
Place called Venezuela.
Here it is, the killer quote.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
He can't quite say judicious, but so there you have it. America is going to run Venezuela. Netanyahu's massively lubed, oiled arm and hand is firmly up Donald Trump's backside. And every one of his friends. Let's not forget, he called up Marjorie Taylor Greene, didn't he, before Christmas or before the New Year, crying like the big baby that he is, saying this is going to be bad for my friends. You know, Democrats are already with an expected. Have they had a soft response to the Adrian Flow? I haven't even seen the Democrats respond. The Democrats, what a bunch of fucking hopeless, useless, fake, fraudulent progressives. What an absolute shameful bunch of ineffective, inappropriate shills, all of them.
Has to be judicious, because that's what we're all about.
I don't think he really knows what judicious means. So moving on.
So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure.
So he's basically said, you know, remember, guys, from Israel and their Gaza genocide, they tell us what they're doing. No one should be surprised. We can be shocked, but none of us need to be surprised. He's told us they're going to run the country, Venezuela. They're doing it for the oil. You know, to be fair, America feels they've invested billions, and I'm sure they have, into the infrastructure of getting oil out of Venezuela. And the feeling they have is that Maduro wasn't playing ball, i.e., America had given you all this kit and all this stuff. We'd made you dependent on us financially, which is America's credo, isn't it? It's what America's done to countries like Jordan. It's doing it to Lebanon. They want to be able to do it to Iran. You know, America likes to have, just like the mafia. Just think Mean Streets. Think Raging, not Raging Bull. Think Goodfellas. Think, you know, Casino. All that kind of stuff. America operates on the premise of, we will give you protection money if you play ball with us. Egypt, classic example. We will flood you with cash, make all of you rulers and all the kind of moneyed classes and governing classes, will make you wealthy if you just play ball with us. But the moment you don't, we will punish you. And that's what's essentially happened here. And that's why I think this is really, really disturbing, because what they're saying is any of our investment, any of our input, any of our money is there as leverage, so that when and if you don't play ball with us, as Maduro wasn't, and I'm not validating or justifying what he was doing. Don't know enough about what he was doing, but I do know that it didn't benefit the Venezuelans. It benefited the wrong people. Power corrupts in all its guises. This is, again, America saying, we will take you out and we will run it. But they're just telling us what they're going to do. There's nothing hidden here. You know, he's telling us it straight. And still Starmer has to sit there saying, we need to wait for the facts. Need to wait for the facts. I'm deeply concerned. I'm going to listen to what all of the people in Europe say. He doesn't stand a chance, does he, Starmer, of surviving, surely?
Importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just fair, even to their people.
And he went on at great length, didn't he, Emma, about this was a first wave. We thought this first wave would last longer. There were plans for a second wave, a second stronger wave. And so consequently, you know, he's basically saying, be warned, Venezuela, because we may well come in on foot and be much, much stronger and more aggressive.
The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation this morning. It's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody.
Is it a much safer place to be, Trump? It is if you're a multi-billionaire with Jared Kushner carving up war zones and genocide, locations of genocide into kind of, you know, flash Zuzi kind of buildings and hotels. Bailey says the world will react just as they have to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Fuck all. We are knee deep in a world of shit. We really are, Bailey. We really are. I mean, it's unfortunate that this has had to happen so early in 2026, and we couldn't have just got going with a little bit of fun, lightness, and brevity. But we are really in the deepest doo-doo. This isn't about the fact that Venezuela could even put up a fight. This isn't about a war with Venezuela even necessarily spiraling into a broader conflict. That's not the concern here. It's not about, and that's why most people go about their business, buying the Daily Mail, eating their I don't know, their sausage roll and what have you, and just go, oh well, whatever, it's Venezuela, fucking hell, the fact of the matter is, it won't spill over into anything else in the region. But what it sends out to the rest of the world is a signal, okay, that America has regard for no one and can do whatever the fuck they want whenever the fuck they want to. And if this does gravitate or amplify or accelerate or develop into a fuller conflict with boots on the ground, etc., then you can rest assured that will be used as cloud cover for Donald Trump to exert further control over America. I'm just going to pivot over to Pete Hegseth, because as you could probably tell there, Donald Trump was slowing down so dramatically. His batteries were on empty. He'd seen too much male bravado, and his body, his jowls couldn't cope with anymore. So let's have a moment from a man who is a walking embodiment of Viagra.
And the American people deserve. And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none. The best.
Just want to pause as Michu makes an important point. Europe won't object. No one. Look, I'm waiting for. I want to just hear what Starmer has to say. I'm not expecting anything from Starmer. Europe won't object. Starmer won't object. Most people want Maduro out, but the populations and us lot are looking at our leaders and we're taking notes. We're looking at our leaders and we're thinking, oh right, okay, you're quite happy with this sort of behavior when it's America doing it to them, rather than when it's Putin doing it to them, or rather than if China does it to them. And it's okay, it's, all the exceptionalism. We're all taking note. We're making notes frantically. There's no surprises in the fact that Europe will not object to this, will not push back, that Starmer will not be critical. But if by ignoring the need for international rules to be observed, we are, in our own individual nations, on extraordinary slippery slopes, going way down them.
Best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen.
Just pop another pill and just go off somewhere and sweat into your suit somewhere. Marco Rubio then stepped up to the microphone.
President that just talks and does letters and press conferences, and if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
He's literally Joe Pesci. He thought he was a big boy, and so he was a big boy. He tried to be a big boy, and I suppose he's now regretting the fact that he was a big boy. What are you doing? Laughing at me? How are you laughing at me? Am I funny like a clown? Funny like a clown. What am I funny? Have I got a red nose on my face? What am I? Fucking gangsters.
Running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil company.
That
Mr. President, you said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but it's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
So, it's all about, they're doing this for Venezuelans. They're doing it for Venezuelans in America who would like to go back to Venezuela. They're not doing it. The priority isn't the amount of money they could make. Don't think that for a minute. The priority here is doing it for the Venezuelans, then the Venezuelans in America. And that's why it's Make America Great Again, and we've stopped drugs coming in, although it's something like 5% of all drugs going into the United States, according to Tucker Carlson's research, comes from, or is accountable, can be accountable as Venezuelan drugs. So, it's massively overblown, this idea that, drugs from Venezuela are destroying America. I do think we are in a perilous situation now where if I'm feeling this, then many other people in the world must be feeling this. I am desperate now for someone, and I don't know who, and I don't know which country it could be, should be, which leader. I want someone to give America a bloody nose. I mean, I no longer feel that sense of kinship, not to Americans, but I don't feel any sense of kinship or like our fate should be in any way attached to America. You know what it's like when you're watching a football match, and regardless of who you support, if there's a team that's arrogant, supercilious, is fouling all the time, is bad sportsmanlike and all this kind of, bad sportsmanship and all the rest of it, you kind of end up just thinking, you know what, I hope you fucking lose. And I've just got this massive desire now for it all to go completely fucking wrong for America. I really do. It's like they don't deserve to carry on with this absolute marauding idiot. And the fact that the Democrats, and the fact that no opposition can fucking mount an opposition, apart from one chap, Mamdani, in New York. And what the fuck can he do in New York? How many more people in the world are going to be thinking, do you know what? I really hope someone gives America a bloody nose. Now, the only people who could theoretically really give America a bloody nose are China and Russia. And I think Russia and America are big buddies. I was just having a moment thought there, thinking, what if China decided they wanted a bit of, I don't know, or Russia wanted a bit of Canada? Would Trump kind of join in cahoots with them and say, let's carve it up and take all their minerals? China, YouTube says, won't care so much about Venezuela. It's been one of the African states that China's heavily invested in, then China would be concerned. Yeah, Iran are interested. That's one of the other reasons they're giving America, that there's lots of sort of relationships between Iran and Venezuela. Trump is now saying, you're one who won the Peace Prize isn't fit to run the country. Trump is going to run the country. No, absolutely. So I think hang on, I think it's this one. Is it this clip?
Mr. President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. So we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment.
Yeah, could have lost a lot of dignity. I think he's trying to avoid losing dignity by constantly distracted from the Epstein files.
And they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
It's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
Mr. President.
What's the group you mentioned that would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
So Donald Trump is going to run Venezuela with Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth, just like Donald Trump and Jared Kushner are going to run the Gaza Strip, the Gaza Riviera. Is anyone beginning to sort of see a kind of pattern developing here with a property kind of developer in New York, just property developing around the world? It's quite astonishing, isn't it? I think I might have missed the 47-inch kind of door safe room. Maybe this is it. This is the final quote from Trump.
There. And they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late.
Don't worry. But anyway, so there we have it. There we have it. You've got Donald Trump doubling down, solidifying his rationale that it's all in self-defense. There was a good question from one of the journalists saying, how is this in any way America first? He said it's America first because we stand to get more money back from taking control of the oil in Venezuela. It's not like people can actually even post anything online like it's a big surprise or conspiracy. America is only really interested in Venezuelan oil. That's why, they've told us that. What's happening here, curiously, more and more, it's a bit like, I think Scaramucci said on The Rest is Politics USA. When a cover-up is happening in front of your face and they're saying, we're doing a cover-up, you've kind of lost the power of being able to say, hang on, there's a cover-up. I don't know if anyone else feels this sometimes. I feel more and more, it's like we are having removed, because it's happening right before our eyes, barefaced criminality, total disregard for international rules and law, genocidal footage shown to us, live streamed, and we're just being told, yeah, well, just don't think about it, or don't believe it, or it's not real, or so what? I mean, it's like, if in a sense these leaders are in saying so what can we do with the information now? We've seen it, we've said what it is, we've called it out for what it is, we've told you what it is, but then they all go, that's what it is. Yeah, it's like, Israel, you're committing a genocide. They're not denying. It's like, well, yeah, we kind of bombed it and, a lot of people died, but we're going for Hamas. Yeah, what you saw is real. Oh, okay. That's where we're at, guys. So on January the 3rd, America has annexed a Latin American country, is now running it, has threatened a second wave of violence and potentially boots on the ground. Trump loves that phrase, boots on the ground. He's not intimidated by it. Loves a bit of boots on the ground, if there's any resistance. And I'm sure that's going to send out a number of signals to the rest of the world. And if anyone says go to the ICC, America isn't a signatory to the ICC. Now we know why, just like Israel. Generally, countries don't sign up to international criminal courts when they want to do stuff that's illegal. I wonder why. It's funny that, wasn't it? Try and riddle me that one. I think everyone has to vote with their feet. Do not travel to the US. I think you're right. I think everyone needs to start boycotting America. And I feel sorry for the Americans, millions of them in America, who just hate what is going on. But I hate to say it to all of you Americans who hate what's going on there, and I know many of you who do. Who is voicing your concerns over there? Maybe they're being heard over there. We're not hearing anything over here. No one can hear any resistance whatsoever. It's like Donald Trump and his presidency have kind of, what's it called when you put, what's the stuff you put, chlorophyll on a sort of hanky, and everyone's just been knocked out. It's worrying. Anyway, guys, well, there you go. I hope that's helped sort of unpack. Well, we all knew what had happened, but just unpack the finer details of the lunacy of it all. It's just quite shocking, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this a lot more. Okay, guys, have a safe evening. Obviously, Vlogmas will be landing tomorrow night now, the last Vlogmas, end of the weekend before we get back into normal weeks. Have a lovely evening, and sorry,